Hello, YouTube family. This is Hadassah's Crown Publishing back with you for another spectacular author interview. Today we have author Erica Archie-Taylor with us, and her book, you'll see the cover in just a few minutes. It is Dallas on the Spectrum. So, Erica, thank you for joining us today. Will you share with us who you are and a little bit of background and why you wrote Dallas on the Spectrum?
Yes, well, my name is Erica Archie-Taylor. I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was raised in Snellville, Georgia. I'm married with two kids, a 7-year-old daughter, and a 6-year-old son. Actually, that is why I wrote the book, Dallas on the Spectrum, about my 6-year-old son, Benjamin, that has autism spectrum disorder.
All right. Well, I can certainly relate to that because my first children's book was about my son. So, we usually write, authors generally write about topics that are very near and dear to their heart. And how can you tell a story if you don't know it firsthand? And so that's generally what authors do, unless it's just fact by fact, autobiography or memoir. Even fiction works borrow bits and pieces of truth from the author's life or those of others around them, things that they have observed, because our imagination goes so far, but sometimes the real stuff in our lives is what captures our attention to write. So you're a busy mother, you're an educator, you do a lot of things. When did you find time to write?
I actually wrote this book when I was at work on my break. It took me a few days to write it.
Okay.
I was, I always wanted to write a book, but I didn't think that I could do it. And one of my coworkers, she would just tell me, just take some paper and just start writing. So I did that.
It's truly that simple. I get that question all the time. Like people say, I have an amazing story, or I always wanted to be an author. And the thing is, it's like the Nike logo. I mean, just do it. You just have to start. You can start on a napkin, a paper napkin when you're sitting at Burger King having lunch or whatever. And that's the thing. Many of us don't have a dedicated time to sit down and write every single week or every single day. So we take our breaks. I've talked about how I may be going down the road and using my cell phone to record me talking about a topic, or I may be in line at a drive-through, or I wouldn't do it at the stop sign or at the traffic light, I don't believe, but just when I'm waiting, that's extra time and my mind is always running. So I just need to record whatever it is that I'm thinking. So that's awesome that you're just real and you're sharing with us how you were able to get that done. So when did you first realize you wanted to be an author?
Last year.
Okay. Oh, and so your goal of becoming an author happened, before a lot of people. Sometimes I'll have people reach out to me. They have manuscripts that they started in 1970, even older, and they've wanted to be an author for so very long, and it takes them a long time to get there. But wow, you had a dream, you put it into action, and look at you. You're an author. So we're celebrating that today. Yes.
Thank you.
So what are some of your favorite children's books to read?
I like Amelia Bedelia, um, Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat. Those are my favorites.
Awesome. Well, I'm just so happy to hear you say Amelia Bedelia, because of the books that were around when I was a child, those, Amelia Bedelia, Dr. Seuss, those are like timeless classics. So I'm glad to know that someone much younger than me really appreciates Amelia Bedelia. And I'm glad that she's still around. So that's awesome. Those are some of my favorites as well. So back to Dallas on the Spectrum, and I'm going to share my screen so our authors can see this lovely couple this lovely cover that truly represents your idea, and it gives viewers and readers an idea, even without them opening the book, what Dallas on the Spectrum is about and what the autism spectrum disorder is, with some characteristics if they are not aware or familiar. So, what is it that you want readers to take away from this amazing book?
I just wanted them to have more understanding about autism and what it means and how to be understanding and to treat others that have autism fairly.
That is,
Because
yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just saying I've had experiences that, I've taken my son out in public. He had a meltdown and people were looking at me, judging me. Actually had a man out of nowhere come and yell at my son. And I had to tell him, oh no, sir, he's not misbehaving. He's autistic.
Wow. And, autism is not new. It's been around for a very, very long time, but it's still a mystery in so many people's minds, especially those who don't have someone in their family or who are non-educators or haven't been in the presence of a child, maybe at church or somewhere. And it is disheartening to see sometimes when people, just don't understand. And it's great when people are willing to listen and get an understanding. But it's very difficult when people just, kind of build walls and just think that, like you said, like it's bad parenting or it's a bad child without understanding. So I applaud your efforts for doing this. And so while we're on the cover, let's just talk about it for a minute. What did you articulate to your illustrator that you wanted to see on the cover?
Um, well, I wanted them to make it as real as possible. I actually gave some pictures of us so it could look exactly like us. I wanted I wanted the pictures to come alive with my story, what I was talking about.
And it does. Yes, it really does. So this young child, you can see that he's covering his ears, and that is definitely something that many autistic children do. Loud noises, just a bunch of chaos is so not friendly to them. And so then the family is right there in the background. But I love that you also wanted these phrases on the cover just right off the bat. You may run into a child who avoids eye contact, prefers to be alone, is sensitive to loud noises and delayed speech. And while we're on this topic, I have to give kudos. I truly believe that I read it's Walmart who is going to be more friendly to children with autism, because they're going to have hours where they dim the lights some and they maybe play like a soft music or something, but they're making the environment more friendly for children to come to their store like during these certain hours. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's a great movement, and I hope other stores and public places will also think about that as well. And I admire you, and I believe that parents, sometimes it's an act of bravery to, take your child every and anywhere. But it's good exposure for them to learn, but it's also an opportunity for other people to learn as well. And there shouldn't be limits. There shouldn't be any place where, your son, Ben, can't go and feel comfortable and be accepted. So the family is so very important in the story and to Ben or Dallas in the book. And so it's great that they are pictured on the cover. How does your family accommodate being in Dallas and keep the household running smoothly so he can be his best?
Well, we do a lot of the exercises that his occupational therapy taught us to do. We use his weighted vest throughout the day, at 30 minutes of time. It feels like it's a warm hug, so it can lessen the meltdowns. We do a lot of arm compressions with the sensory brush. That seems to help him a lot.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. And just having someone who is, having family members that are supportive, that means so much to the success of any child. But especially a child who, could be a little bit more vulnerable, in the mainstream and in the public. And the fact that your family has researched and learned, and also that you're receptive to the therapy that your son, has been offered, and you're finding ways that it's working and it's helping. So I applaud you and kudos to your family for that.
Thank you. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work because we have to take him. Well, I actually take him to occupational therapy once a week. He goes physical therapy once a week. He does speech twice a week. And then we have a behavior therapist that comes to the home and work with him. And it's a lot of hours, but we do it because it needs to be done because that's what's going to help him get better.
Mhm. Exactly, exactly. All right. So this spectacular book is your very first children's book. Within the first week of it being on the shelf, it became an Amazon bestseller. So woohoo, that's something to celebrate, and congratulations. Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations on that. So will you publish more books? Is there anything else in the works?
Yes, that is the plan. My daughter and I are trying to do a book about her and her brother and her take on him being autistic. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I can't wait to see how you approach that, because your writing was so very professional, very descriptive. I love the language that you used and the interaction of the family, the dialogue. So I know that this one is going to be a bestseller as well. Can you share with our viewers what you learned about the publishing process and what it's like being an author, things that you didn't think of, or things that you now know that maybe you didn't know this time last year when you first dreamed of being an author?
Well, it's a process and you have to be patient. I thought it was going to be, something that was very quick and easy, but I realized it wasn't. It's editing. You have to make sure you do the layouts correctly, that nature.
Yeah, well, so what you've learned is that there is a method to the production of a book. It's not just
Yes.
something you can type out, just throw some illustrations in there and then upload it and bam, it's ready to go. If it's going to be a bestseller, it has to be well, edited and polished. And then the visual presentation of it is very important as well. And for whatever platform you choose for printing or publishing, there are always guidelines and specifications that have to be met as well. And so, yes, those things don't happen overnight. And it's interesting, I get a number of calls where people will say, so I have my book, everything's finished, it's been edited, it's this, it's that, and whatever. You have everything you need. Can I have my signing like at the end of the month? And I'm like, no, not if I'm going to be involved in the process, because I just want to be very thorough and make sure whatever we put out is very professional, and that we don't have to backtrack and go back and fix this or fix that, because you have, one time to make that first impression. And we want it to be as professional as possible the very, very first time.
Yes, I was telling my daughter's class that yesterday for career day because they asked me about the steps to becoming an author.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Well, tell us, how did that go?
I actually thought, that they wasn't gonna like it, and I thought it was gonna be boring, but they actually liked it.
Oh,
They had a
awesome.
lot of questions, and right off the back, they knew it was a nonfiction book.
Very good.
And I asked them, how you know that? And they're like, well, you're writing about your son and you were telling the truth.
That is amazing. They are so very smart. And I was in a classroom a couple of weeks ago and we had the very same conversations. I could tell they had been learning about fiction and nonfiction because they identified some things from my story as well and asked lots of questions about that. So kudos to the teachers and
Yeah.
kudos to you as well. And while we're here, reading to students at schools, that's a great way to get your name out there as an author and to get attention to your book. And so what I try to do when I go is to possibly have some bookmarks or cards, something that maybe the children can take home, because now I'm not surprised if some of them do have Amazon accounts and they may get on and order things, but their parents usually are the ones who are able to place the orders and order, and pay for it. So something when they get home, if they can't remember the name of the book, the title of the book, or your name, they can have it. So if they talk about it enough, their parents can say, well, you know what, you really seem to like that book. Let's make sure we get a copy on our shelf. So again, that's just a really great PR opportunity, but it's giving to the children that we intentionally, that we had in mind when we first began our project anyway. So is there anything that you'd like to share with our viewers that you haven't at this point?
Well, in the book, it talked about, when he got diagnosed and how his father and I reacted to it. And there was a part where I went upstairs to cry, and I did cry for an hour or two. And I did blame myself for him being autistic because I was wondering, did something go wrong during my pregnancy with him? How can this happen? It was very hard for me to accept it at first.
I'm glad you brought that topic up because I don't know if you've seen the series on Netflix, but my family, my immediate family, my expanded family, we have mostly all enjoyed every season of that show. It's mainly people with autism, but then there are also some with Down syndrome and other possible, disabilities. And there were two girls in particular that I remember, and this meant so much to me. It was so very precious. They didn't know that they were autistic until they were teenagers, late teenagers. But both of them said when they were asked, how did you feel when you found out, when you got that label? And they both said they celebrated. They both said they were happy because they always knew that there was something that set them apart from the crowd. But when they found out, they were just really happy to know. They weren't sad, they weren't depressed, they didn't go to their rooms and cry, because I know that that was what, one of my family members did. And, I think it was more of just not understanding and not knowing what the days ahead or the road ahead was going to be like. So that, it's all of that. And then we're so protective as parents, as aunts, as grandparents, and all of that. But, the children are actually okay. I look at my family member and I promise you, 95% of the time, he is as happy as he can be. And he gives all of us joy. And it's just, it's a wonderful interaction, and everybody just really loves him so much. I can't even express it. But when those young ladies said that wasn't disappointing to them, like they are who they are and they embrace who they are. They embrace their individuality. I feel like, I hope a lot of parents have seen that, to know that, the children are okay. It's us and our concerns. We don't want the world or anybody to mistreat them. And
Yeah.
so I know that's where this book came from. And I know that's why it's out there. So I know a lot of parents can relate. It may not be autism. It may be a speech impediment. It may be a hearing impairment. whatever it is, you know, all of our children are unique and designed just for themselves. They are one of a kind. All of us are. We all have something. And so parents can relate to this, children, adults, but I just love the fact that we're educating the population so that they do understand more. And even after they finish this book, maybe they will read more and more and more so that they gain an even better understanding. So I greatly appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. My last question was going to be, how can, you know, people who are interested purchase this book? It is available on Amazon.com. When I post this video, I am going to put the link in the description so you can go directly to it and you can support this new author, purchase this book. If it's not specifically for you, I know you know someone who this book can benefit. So please support her. And we are just so excited to know that she is going to be writing more. So we'll be back with you when she finishes that second book. But thank you again for joining us today. We hope that you will like this video. We hope that you will share it. And please subscribe to and support our channel, Hadassah's Crown Publishing. And again, thank you for joining us, and we hope that you will enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I stopped my sharing, and so I'm going to